Good afternoon. The April 7th meeting of the West Virginia University Faculty Senate will come to order. Our first item of business is approval of the minutes from the March 10th meeting, which were attached to your agenda. Are there any changes, corrections, or modifications to the minutes? All right, see no changes. The minutes are approved. For our next item of business, I am excited to introduce the future president of West Virginia University, Michael Benson. President Benson will be joining us following 4 previous successful university presidencies, including Coastal Carolina, Eastern Kentucky, Southern Utah University, and Snow College. He has a bachelor's degree in political science from BYU, a master's degree in nonprofit administration from the University of Notre Dame, a Master of Liberal Arts from Johns Hopkins, and a doctoral degree in modern history from the University of Oxford St. Anthony's College. He will be joining us on Zoom today. Please join me in welcoming President Benson.
Good afternoon. Diana, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm sorry I had to do it this way, but I still have a full-time job here at Coastal Carolina University. They've been very, very good to my family and me, and I need to finish strong here. So I had a chance to meet with Diana and Scott, Wayne and Scott Critchlow, along with Frankie and Leslie. Last time I was on campus and agreed that it would be a good time to say hello. I don't want to take a lot of time. I looked at your agenda and you've got a lot to talk about. But there are a couple of things I did want to mention. First off, I hope the academic year is coming to a successful conclusion here in a few weeks. And the high water mark for all of us, of course, is graduation. And we're having ours, I think, the week before you all have yours in Morgantown. So looking forward to that. I also have quite a few family obligations when my oldest son's graduating high school. So between senior nights and senior prom and a lot of other things getting ready for colleges, we have a lot of family obligations here too. So doing 2 jobs and taking care of my family is a multiple full-time job. I was in Morgantown last week. I had the chance to have several meetings, but also toured the Statler College of Engineering. And as much as I enjoyed all of the time over there, by far the Formula One team was my favorite. As a big fan of Formula One. Scott, shout out to you and the students, all of them. I was so impressed with these very capable students and how well they acquit themselves at these international competitions. Also had the chance to visit both of our branch campuses in Kaiser and Beckley. Paul Kreider accompanied me. I want to thank Provost Paul, for his time, and it's clear he's developed very meaningful and helpful relationships at both of those places, particularly out at Kaiser. We'll be back in West Virginia for Easter weekend. My kids have never been to the state before. My wife has, but looking forward to showing them all that the campus has to offer and introduce them to the university. I'm really trying to listen as much as I possibly can. This is a big job. I'm taking it very seriously without taking myself too seriously, and learning as much as I can by listening. Really focused on a few things like strategic priorities, fundraising, of course, enrollment management. We had a chance last Wednesday to do a phone-a-thon with the deans and members of the senior leadership team, and I hope that bears some fruit. I heard the Side WVU Day went very well, and I got our enrollment report today that shows that our applications are up. That delta of the yield is narrowing from this time last year, so that's a bit of encouraging news. Speaking of personnel, we are going to post, if it hasn't been posted already, our Vice President for Enrollment Management, working with Greenwood Asher on that search. Hope to have someone in place very, very soon. And also a national search for our provost will begin. You'll hear some news about that, members of that committee, but probably shortly after I arrive, we'll get going on that. That's a very, very, I would argue, probably the most important hire I'm going to make during my tenure at West Virginia. I've had a chance to address both the foundation board and our alumni board over Zoom, but also had a chance to meet with our student government leaders last Tuesday in person. That was a real highlight. I really appreciate Charlie and his service on the board, and the incoming president and his vice president. So Lastly, and I'm happy, I mentioned to Diana, I do have another obligation, but I'm happy to take a couple questions if I have time, if you have time and the inclination. But closely monitoring things in Charleston. I got an update on House Bill 3279. That, of course, is the governing bill. I understand Leslie Cottrell presented today before a committee and did very, very well. But if it has a reading in the House today, it may have a second reading tomorrow, which opens it up to chances for amendments. So we're closely monitoring that, and we'll keep you apprised of any developments. But I'll stop there, Diana. If I have time for a couple of questions, happy to entertain a question or two. But again, I'm sorry to do this over Zoom, but I really look forward to being with you in person when I start officially in July. I attend the Faculty Senate meeting here at Coastal every month and give a report, and I intend to do the same thing when I arrive in Morgantown. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, President Benson. Are there any questions in the room? We do have someone approaching the mic. Give us a second.
Hi, Joe Jones, College of Creative Arts and Media. President Benson, thank you for the time today. I just was wondering if you could articulate for us what you think the overall maybe role or social purpose of higher education is in your eyes.
Well, that's a question for a longer discussion, maybe on another occasion, but I've written about it. I would argue that education, particularly public higher education in our country, is one of the most valuable assets that we have. I would argue that access to it is the greatest thing that we can provide individuals. It has the potential to do more good for more people, more than anything else. And so vouchsafing it, protecting it, promoting it, promulgating it is, I think, first and foremost, one of the responsibilities of the university and beyond. I have written about this and the fact that the founding fathers, all the way back to George Washington, who advocated for a national university, they ran into opposition with people who wanted a national bank more than they wanted a national university. But they saw the value of what education means to a society. The more people have education, the less inclined they are to be reliant on other services, the more inclined they are to vote, the more inclined they are to participate, to serve on a school board, to have better health outcomes. And knowing West Virginia as little as I know, and I'm certainly going to learn a lot more about it, there is no thing that could improve the quality of life for its citizens of the Mountain State than education. So that's a kind of a long response to a very short question, but I'm happy to discuss it more because I've advocated for 30 years public higher education, and I won't stop. And in the current environment, I think it behooves all of us to make sure our voices are heard, and we are tireless in our efforts.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more question.
Good afternoon. I'm Eugenia Pena-Jeftohef from the Davis College. Welcome as a new president.
Thank you very much.
So I have just a quick question. You said that you were going to be observing very careful the bills 3279. If I may ask, how would you look at it closely, and how could we do something about it? Because I believe that you follow our feelings about it.
Yes, I really defer to my colleague Travis, who's our kind of boots on the ground in Charleston. He's been giving me updates. I understand faculty, concerned citizens have let their voices be known. I said to Travis, as someone who's taught political science, we all know what the guaranteed rights in the First Amendment are. When I ask students what they are: assembly, freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom from religion, but also the freedom to participate in religion if we so choose. But the last part of the First Amendment is to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So you all have been exercising your First Amendment right and voicing your concerns about this bill. And again, to Leslie, I commend her for the job she did today. Travis called and told me what had happened. So we'll have to see what happens if the first reading happens today and then tomorrow. But this is a bill that's getting a lot of attention. And I will state how much I appreciate because I came from a state in Kentucky where we had a staff regent, a faculty regent, and a student body regent, student body president. So I am very happy to see those voices on the board and certainly hope they will continue to be heard.
All right. President Benson, thank you for your time. That looks like all of our questions for today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, and y'all have a great rest of the academic year, and I can't wait to meet you all in person. And Diana, thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you. We really appreciate your time. Okay, now my report. Faculty Senate continues to engage in shared governance with multiple entities of the institution. In this past month, we have worked to provide input into the upcoming academic calendar. We're talking 26, 27. I don't know when it's coming out, don't ask. Campus safety and a new exit interview process for the faculty. The Faculty Senate Executive Committee will, moving on, next topic. I'm sorry, I don't have any transitions written in my script today. It's going to be a rough go. The Faculty Senate Executive Committee will consider and elect the next Faculty Senate Secretary and representative to state government at the April 21st meeting. I will discuss deadlines. We are still accepting nominations, self-nominations for those positions. The final step in our extended spring election cycle is the selection of the Faculty Senate Executive Committee for next year. The declaration of candidacy form for those interested in serving on the Faculty Senate Executive Committee was distributed to all faculty senators and will remain open until 5 p.m. on Friday, April 11th. That is this Friday. Looking at our current list of interested candidates, several constituencies remain unrepresented in this election, including Statler, Davis, pharmacy, dentistry, CAHS, law, the libraries, public health, and WVU Tech. There are 7 elected seats on the executive committee, but no more than 1 senator per constituency may be elected to the committee. So multiple candidates from each constituency weakens the chances of that constituency being represented. And so we encourage constituencies to talk amongst each other and ensure that they put forth a good candidate. Candidates must be faculty senators at the time of election, but may serve on that committee in the year following the end of their Senate term. So if your Senate term expires this coming June, you can still be elected to the Faculty Senate Executive Committee. There are no term limits. Current executive committee members may seek re-election as long as they continue to be an active faculty senator. Finally, the Faculty Senate leadership team, the Faculty Senate Executive Council, and members of the Faculty Senate under the leadership of Eloise Elliott have been in frequent communication with the governmental relations team and the legislature to keep up to date on the current legislation that we were just discussing. We also have had representatives travel to Charleston to speak out on our behalf. I encourage all members of Faculty Senate to look for communications from Eloise. There's one coming tomorrow morning, sent from the Faculty Senate office email address. I'm going to let Eloise update everyone during her report. That concludes my report today. Are there any questions for me? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda represent normal or non-controversial items of business. Any member of the Faculty Senate can request an item be removed from the consent agenda and will be placed in its normal place for discussion on the regular agenda. Does anyone desire an item to be moved from today's consent agenda? Seeing no further requests to move the items, we will move to approve the consent agenda, consisting of 3 items from the Curriculum Committee, the Program Change Report, Annex 1, the New Course Report, Annex 2, and the Course Change Report, Annex 3. All of those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye or raising your hands online. You can lower your hands online. All those opposed to approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying nay or raising your hands online. The consent agenda is approved. All right, now for our standing committee reports. Darko has informed us that he was unable to attend online or in person today, so there will be no report from the curriculum committee. The next report will be from Cody Hood, chairperson of the General Education Foundations Committee. Cody, are you online?
Hi, Diana. We do have a hand up from Lauren. Did you want to address her first?
Oh, sorry.
Might have been a mistaken hand. Okay,
Okay.
I'll go ahead and go. So with the Jeffco committee, we've been working on developing some language that faculty can utilize as part of their syllabi if they are interested. And so hopefully we'll have some details for that out at our next meeting in May. And then also as a little preview for what we can have coming up from the committee is we've been working closely with the honors and the honors fellowship program and updating the relationship that we have with them and the way that a course is approved as a Jeff through their HFC program. So hopefully we'll have some information to either share or vote on at the next faculty meeting related to those two items.
Okay. Are there any questions for Cody? Thank you, Cody. Next up will be a report from the Teaching and Assessment Committee, Chairperson Sherry Chisholm. Sherry? Okay. Sherry's internet is out, so she's unable to join us. Modern times, aren't they great? She says that if you have any questions or concerns, to please email her. You will notice that she attached for information the committee's actions regarding some issues with the spot as Annex 4 on your agenda. So please let her know if you have any concerns or questions. All right, next up is Ilkin with the Committee on Committees report.
Good afternoon. I don't have anything new to report. However, I'd like to remind our members again that the survey is going to be out soon. I think they're waiting for elections ending today. So we hope to get it and start assigning committee members. Thank you.
Okay. So if you have any interest in serving on any of the general Faculty Senate committees, the survey is available on the Faculty Senate website. If you have not found yours that arrived in your email box, because we know how many things go to junk. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, next up is, this is going to be a hot one. Buckle up, people. Report from the faculty representative of state government, Eloise Elliott.
Thank you, Diana. The good news is this is the last one. This is the last report. Hopefully. So it's already been mentioned a couple times already today. The big thing that we're most worried about, obviously, is House Bill 3279, which is what they call the WVU Board of Governors bill, which is much bigger than that. But for us, it's the WVU Board of Governors bill. So you've gotten lots of messages about that. One recently on Friday, I believe, because the bill was then in the Government Organization Committee, which was that committee met this morning at 9:30. Leslie, Frankie, and I were there. Leslie spoke. It passed almost unanimously. We had one person vote against it, even though I think many of us sent letters and emails, but they wanted it to hurry and go to the full Senate. So now, just to recap, it's a substitute bill now. It did have some changes. And of course, the biggest thing, as you know, is eliminating the voting authority of our faculty, student, and staff members on the Board of Governors. There's other things that other changes that have been made, but there are things like expanding our board from 17 to 19, with 8 members having to be a resident of West Virginia. The governor has the authority to appoint 15 of those 19 people. It added a seat for a graduate of WVU Tech and a graduate of Potomac State, and it adds a seat for a representative from agriculture or forestry. Of course, the biggest piece that we would like to see changed, and everything is fine, except we want to make sure that we have voting rights. So we will be sending out another letter, as Diana said, tomorrow morning. And I think it's going to be to all faculty, right, Diana? All faculty. And we will have all of the 36 senators' names, telephone numbers, email addresses, and I think where they represent what area of West Virginia they're representing. Corey mentioned that. Oh, there he is. Here you are. And were you also going to add
QR
that,
code?
Corey? Corey's also going to put up a QR code where you can scan that and actually get the list right there if you'd like to do that of all the senators and their contact information. We expect their, as of right before this meeting, it still hadn't been read in the Senate yet, which gives it another day. You know, it has to be read a day before the amendments can be done on the second reading. And so we are hoping for amendments to this bill. And of course, number one amendment is to give our people the voting rights again. If that fails, there are some other options that we've been talking about. And one is to at least give the faculty, staff, and student members the opportunity to stay in executive session and on committees, even though they wouldn't be voting. So those things are going to happen, you know, obviously this week. And it could happen if they're read today, second reading tomorrow, be voted on Wednesday. That would be the earliest. So we really need, if you're interested in we, like President Benson said, we need to get our voices out there. So write something. It doesn't have to be long. Just, you know, in a nice way, without being mean. Try to enforce the fact that we are opposed to this and we want, and it's important to us to be represented, our voices. So the next bill, the Senate Bill 474, that's the DEI bill. That's the one that was introduced by the governor, and it largely just codifies his executive order that he made earlier, in January. It did pass the Senate and the House Education Building, and now it's in House Judiciary. They thought it would be on the agenda today, but it was not on the agenda. So we're just waiting to see what happens. Again, if this bill would pass, you can read the changes or the exceptions that were put into that bill in the Under the Dome newsletter that's sent out by the government relations folks. It really outlines them, and I really think, or not just I, but I've been informed that it really does protect us for the most part about things that we were concerned about with academic freedom. So, but if you need me to answer any questions about those, I'm happy to do that. The House Bill 3297 is establishing the W.B. Washington Center for Civics, Culture, and Statesmanship. That bill was kind of just dumped out all of a sudden. And then it was passed in the House on March the 21st and was introduced in the Senate. And it is now on the Senate Finance, the Senate Finance Committee as of March 24th. And we haven't heard any more about it. It hasn't moved at this point. One nice thing that happened today while we were there, Senate Bill 35, which is mentioned in the Under the Dome newsletter, is the one permitting our campus police officers to participate in Deputy Sheriff's retirement system. That one actually passed the House Finance Committee today. So that was a good thing. So it's on its way. It's already passed the Senate. So now it'll go back to the House. The other bills, the last thing I want to say is just a few of the bills that you all have asked me about and we've tracked that have pretty much all died. The rest of the ones that we've typically talked about, of course, you already know about the childhood immunities. Senate Bill 460, the one, House Bill 2396 is the one about displaying obscene matters to minors, which was very concerning to museums and public libraries, schools. That did not move, so it's dead. Senate Bill 841, that one popped up not too long ago. It was prohibiting state entities from promoting or engaging in any activity related to sexual orientation or gender transitioning. So immediately when we saw that, we got worried about that one. But then it didn't move either. So it didn't cross over. The House Bill 2166 is the Behavior Health Workforce Bill that we followed. It died. Also, the student bill that they were very adamant about and did a really nice job of pushing and meeting with legislators. It died in the House Finance Committee on March 24th. And both of the PEI bills as well died in House Banking and Insurance. And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Eloise? We have a question online. Who is it? Lisa Costello?
Hello, Lisa Costello, School of Medicine. Thank you so much for that report. I know things are changing drastically, but just within the last hour in the Senate Health Committee, House Bill 2776 was recalled from the floor, and basically the majority of the provisions of Senate Bill 460, which addresses the childhood immunization, school requirements, and childcare, were added into that bill. That is likely going to get reconsidered at 5:30 this evening. So it was probably while you were coming back from Charleston that happened. But that is obviously something that the School of Medicine, for many of us who, like myself, are also parents that have children in our school system, and also that would have to care for those individuals, it is a concerning turn of events that just occurred within the past hour. So unfortunately, that does seem to have another vehicle right now, those provisions. So I guess it was as a question, were you aware that happened? But probably not, because you likely were traveling from Charleston when that happened. Just my second question would be for the House Bill 3676 or 79. Is there any efforts or strategies for a governor veto? Obviously, need to do what we can right now to try to stop it, but is there any discussion or strategy to look if the bill does complete legislative action and the potential for a governor veto?
Some folks have already written letters to the governor to veto it or have them ready to go. In terms of government relations, I mean, I can't really speak for them, but in talking to them today and with us in our leadership group, we haven't really talked about it. For some reason, we think it's not going to pass, but it's getting closer and closer to believing that it is. So no, to be honest with you, we haven't thought past into the veto, would the governor veto this, but I think that's definitely our next step soon, like in the next day or so. We'll see. But can you give me the number of that first bill you mentioned again?
Yeah, it's House Bill 2776. There was a point, because I'm not an attorney, but I don't think it was germane. It's a bill that was passed out of the House to add alpha-gal reporting to the CDC requirements. So it certainly violates taking on two issues at once, but it does open up the section of code that would deal with public health that the school childcare and school immunization requirements fall onto. So that's how they're working it in, but it's 2776.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi there, Catherine Fonseca, WV Libraries. I have a question around the House budget and that past Friday and the reduction in state allotment to the tune of 15 million for WVU, and WVU being singled out amongst all higher ed institutions. Just wondering if that's on leadership's, horizons, what strategies there are for, talking to representatives, especially since the Senate has to reconcile their budget with the governors, both of which don't have that reduction.
What we've heard as of today, and Paul, you may have more on this you're going to speak to. I thought if the president was here, he would probably speak to that, so I didn't include that in my report. But, and I hope I'm speaking this correctly, but what I understand is that the House budget that has passed has taken $15 million out for WVU, but the Senate budget has put 15 million in theirs, and they're going to pass theirs like today, or today or tomorrow. And then what happens is then they caucus, they come together. Like I think there's 3 of the leadership people from each of the chambers, and they come together and they work out what the final budget is going to be. So that's all I know about the budget.
So we don't have any sort of strategies around advocating for that 15 million.
And Paul's phone says, the provost says that the Senate Finance met today and revealed its version of Senate Bill 300, and that it contains no cuts to WVU. Actually, it includes 273,000 more than Governor Morrissey's introduced budget, because the committee adopted a small portion of the funding formula calculated as a certain way there. So it looks like.
But is there reason to think that the Senate will stick more than the Houses in that caucusing reconciliation process? I suppose. Sorry, I know I should see.
I was going to say, I have no idea.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, Eloise.
Hello.
Joe Jones, College of Creative Arts and Media. Thanks as always for doing this. I know it's probably a thankless role. I was wondering, HB 3279, the Board of Governors bill, in order to write like better letters to them, have they given some reason of why they think it's a good idea that they take away this representation for us? Have they offered any justification for why that should be the case?
No. Well, typically, the people that are opposed to the bill, the ones that I've heard, actually, that's their reasoning, is why are we trying to fix something that's not broken? Nothing's happened with this. We've never had anyone complain. Why is this happening? These people should have voting rights, but the people that are voting for it, the ones I've heard have not really expressed any reason why they're voting for it.
Okay, story of our lives. Thank you.
I might ask Leslie if she has another opinion. Oh, there she is. I'm looking for her. Since she was the one that spoke twice, I'll let her.
Well, I mean, Eloise had it down. For your comment about what to put in the letters, I know that they're resting a lot of it on still have advisory role. So if you could share your thoughts on what is the difference between having an advisory role and having a vote to you, and then some people have gone into definition of shared governance and advantages that everyone has by having a representative on it, has a vote. What's that difference for you? I think that would be specific. And then only to add, if you have colleagues at any other higher education institution in the state, it affects them too. And that diversity is going to have a big impact.
Yes,
and I
we're
feel
still on
like-
Eloise's report, by the way. Yes.
I feel like this is actually geared right at us. And so, as chair of ACF, I've encouraged all the universities and colleges to please send letters from their colleges and universities, because it affects all of us. It affects them too. And the other thing is, just because our Board of Governors now members can be on committees, can be in executive session and so forth, it doesn't say it. There's no stipulation written that if they're not the board could vote, if you're not a voting member, you can't do these other things. So that's another problem, I mean, that's, could be another amendment, I mean, potentially. But we'll see.
Okay. Emily?
Eloise, Emily Murphy with the College of Applied Human Sciences. I was just going to basically say what Eloise just did in our letter, that if you're sending letters to the senators, I mean, what's important is our vote, but it's also important that the faculty representatives, student and staff representatives remain allowed, like we're still allowed to go into executive session and committees, because that's really where all the work of the Board of Governors takes place. So if we are not a part of the executive session or the committee work, it's really taking equal amount of powers away too. So it's the vote and being allowed to remain in those entities as well.
Thank you, Emily.
Hi, Eloise. Amy Weisslogel, Eberly College of Arts and Sciences. I'm wondering if you could address the consequence of this bill in terms of we would have a voting body on the BOG composed solely of political appointees, and hiring decisions hypothetically, such as a new president, as we just saw, would therefore become effectively a proxy political appointee. Is that a correct assessment of how this law would affect our existence, should it be passed?
Well, I think we don't really know how it would affect us, but we would hope that wouldn't be the reason. But the point that you made, that they would be a political appointment, is correct. The voting members would all be politically appointed.
Hi, Eric Horstick, Eberly College. So I wanted to just get maybe some more points of clarification on House Bill 3297, the Washington Center one. That I know in Eberly, I'm pretty sure our dean's office already put a kind of a comprehensive response together for that. But my understanding is that with that bill as structured right now, if it would pass as is, there's some components of that that aren't very well aligned with our accreditation standards. And if that's true, I think that's really worth pointing out to everybody, because that makes a really strong case bringing up and echoing in anybody's responses they might be sending to senators. Probably at the end of the day, we probably want to be an accredited college. Probably. So.
That's a really good point. And that bill, and I downplayed that bill a little bit only because we're totally engrossed in this Board of Governors bill at the moment. But 3297, the one about the Washington Center here at WVU, it has a lot of areas that really don't go well for us, not just accreditation, but some other things too. And so if you haven't looked at that bill, it would be a good idea for you to take a look at that bill. And like I mentioned, it is right now, it did pass the House 3-21. Oh no, that's the date. Never mind. On March the 21st. And I was introduced in the Senate, and they sent it to the Finance Committee. It's still just sitting in the Finance Committee, and I don't know, it might have been sent to 2 committees. I don't have that information on my written down. Sometimes they send it to 1, sometimes they send it to 2 if they want it to take longer, in my opinion. But it would need to have a fiscal note, because it would require some money. So if the Finance Committee, they may just sit on it for that reason. But if anyone else would like to make a comment on that bill, feel free, Paul. I know you've been looking at that bill. And
so let me just say a couple quick things. We have solicited some input, some argument from John Kilwine, who's the chair of political science, Sam Workman, who's the head of the Institute for Public Policy. And we have also engaged others across campus, including Lou Slimak, regarding accreditation. This has several concerns, and we've addressed them all. We've been asked to address them again. If you have concerns, I would urge you to look at the bill, And then I would urge you to send an email to Travis Mullahan and Dan Kimball, Kimble. And they are now currently drafting another response to the committee, which they need for tomorrow. And this is happening, as you know, this is happening quickly. The second iteration of all the information that we're providing. So I would encourage you to add your voice to these concerns.
Any other questions for Eloise?
And he does need that quickly, Travis, because he's going to be looking at that bill tomorrow.
Megan?
Hi, I just had a question. Do we know the approximate budget for this that's been allocated? All right. It says 5, no fewer than 5 tenure track faculty positions. I mean, it feels like a huge amount of resources, and I think that might be one of the more effective ways to talk about, the budget crisis we've just already been in and the NSF issues and everything else that we're kind of facing in Fertile. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Eloise? Eloise, thank you
Thank
for
you.
your work this session. It's been challenging. Thank you. Next up is our Board of Governors report from Leslie Cottrell.
Leslie Cottrell, School of Medicine. Just real quickly, if you're thinking it doesn't matter whether you email, it does. And I've learned through this process that there's a strategy to win, and it's now the further it goes. So don't think that. All right, so BOG. We actually met, the Board of Governors met last Thursday and Friday. This was a regularly standard scheduled meeting. General, I don't want to steal Provost Paul's thunder, but we heard overview of HLC visit, which sounded wonderful. Looking forward to the final report. Everything seems fine on that. I'll save the details for him. That's a big accomplishment. We heard from our divisional campuses, which was great. President Wallace and President Stewart. We don't get to see them too much. They shared their initiatives from the past year, which included retention and enrollment, and shared some of their strategies. And I think particularly we have a student recruitment and retention committee. There were things in their presentation that were perfect for us to check in with them, including fundraising and things of that sort. Every year, the student representatives and SGA by default and the staff as well as faculty do a presentation. And so last week we heard from our BOG student representative, Charlie Long, and he brought several of his SGA members as well as the incoming president and vice president. So similarly, during these presentations, you hear what has been done. Most notably, I wanted to bring are some of the ones that they're going to continue or new initiatives for next year. And again, likewise, I think there were many opportunities for us to check in with them as a Senate, but also as individual faculty members. Just a few, they're going to continue that loneliness initiative that Charlie spoke to us about. That last time?
That was 2 meetings ago.
Times. So really focused on that, safety needs of the students across all campuses. They talked about, they're still focused on reduced costs, so these third-party platforms and how to use them fully and efficiently, something that they're going to continue. They're going to be reforming SGA, so they're going to have more committees with fewer members so that they can get out there. That was the impetus that they gave us, so they can do that and implement action for next year. And then some initiatives, they're going to be starting an in-state opportunity for students, not just SGA, but throughout. So if you had an opportunity, more details are going to be shared, but if you had an in-state opportunity, connecting back to the community, but also with West Virginia through what you do, and then focus on solar panel initiatives that they seemed really excited to be. Shirley Robinson is the BOG classified staff representative. She did something similar. She shared initiatives likely that they had done this past year, included fundraising. They have a blood drive, Red Cross blood drive, and then a clothing drive, all great and focused on students. And then, as I like to generally focus our attention on the consent agenda, which is publicly available, we had that standard agenda, which included new programs such as a radiology tech program for Potomac State, bachelor's degree in forest resources and conservation here, two really cool certificate programs from Chambers College focused on artificial intelligence, and the relocation of the University Police Department, and then several of updates on capital projects. And then lastly, we didn't vote on any items in executive session for any committee or full board. And then we want, Frankie and I will be presenting our faculty report in June. So we will be seeking input and help on.
Thank you. Any questions for Leslie?
Matt Besser, Eberly College. Leslie, I have a question. I have a naive question. I would assume that the most effective way, the question is about the dynamics on the board, and I understand it. There are things that maybe you feel like you shouldn't say or that are not appropriate to say, but I would assume that if members of the Board of Governors thought that the faculty voice, faculty votes, student voice and votes, staff voice and votes were important, then they would say something or do something. I don't know if they're legally prevented from doing that, but the fact that there's silence suggests to me that there's something deeply dysfunctional. I mean, I'm sorry, on the board. That there's I mean, to be blunt, that they just don't care to give the faculty the time of day. And so I just don't understand. Can you say something at all about
Sure.
the dynamics on the board?
Sure. So actually, that's not the case. So the current Board of Governors members were asked to sign a letter that did go and has continued. It went to the House in every committee being discussed and has now been forwarded to the Senate. So current Board of Governors meeting members have signed a letter saying, yes, it's important for us to have a vote. Previous BOG chairs have also signed a separate letter. And then there's been a BOG outside of faculty, staff, and student letter that has crossed WVU, Marshall, and several other institutions. So there has been some support.
Okay, so it's not to do with the board. It's some.
No, it's okay. No. Frankie was correcting me because there is support from ours. There's a letter that was put together. It had not been submitted because not all of the members had signed, but there were several. Majority of our board did sign a letter, and they have voiced support for us having a vote.
So your sense is that this has more something to do that's endogenous to the legislature, members of the legislature who just.
I don't think it. I don't feel like it started from our collective Board of Governors.
Okay.
From
Thank
our
you.
chair. Now, there are a lot of things in that, right? But the majority of our board supports.
Okay.
Our vote.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Leslie? Technically, you're a member of the Board of Governors, and this is the Board of Governors report, so I'm going to allow it, Frankie.
Thank
But
you,
I'm keeping my
Diana.
eye on you.
Thank you. I need to have an eye kept on me. I just want to say that our board is very supportive of faculty, and it's been my experience over these 2 years that we enjoy excellent support from our Board of Governors. And I think there's been a narrative because many people last year came up and asked me, well, they don't care about us, right? They don't listen to you all, right? Not at all. It's not that way at all. So I just wanted to reiterate that and just what Leslie said, that this is not coming from our board. Nobody at WVU has asked for this or complained about the faculty vote in any way.
Thank you. Any other questions for Leslie? All right. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Where are we? Here we are. Okay. So guest reports. President Gee sends his regrets that he is unable to attend today. So for our first and only guest report, we have Interim Provost Paul Kreider. Provost Kreider.
Thank you, Diana. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to be back with you. I want to just report on a few things today. On Friday, during our Board of Governors meeting, I shared some really exciting positive news on the retention front, and I want to share that with you as well. On our fall 24 to spring 25 first-time freshman retention rate is projected at 93.8%, which is an increase of about 1%, and it's our highest fall to spring retention rate ever. Bear in mind, this is different from what we report to HEPSI, which is the fall to fall retention rate, which was over 83% this last fall, and that was a record high as well. So a high fall to spring retention rate is a good indicator that students are generally happy with their college experience, that they're getting support that they need, and are more likely to stay enrolled for their sophomore year. Particularly notable was a 97% rate in the Statler College, and a rise also in our first generation student retention rate as well. So much of the credit for these retention numbers is due to the good work of our dedicated academic advisors and our dedicated faculty who are committed to the success of our students in and out of the classroom, and we thank you very much for that. Leslie mentioned our HLC visit. Our student success efforts are just one of the many things that we're able to highlight earlier this week, but also during our HLC accreditation visit. It was a busy couple of days filled with small group meetings and open forum meetings with the site team. The team met with folks in student life, enrollment management, university leadership. They met with our academic deans, our research team, undergraduate council and graduate council members, as well as other faculty, staff, and students. There were specific meetings related to each criterion of the self-study report and a range of short topical meetings, as well as open forums that faculty and staff and students had the opportunity to attend. Thanks to those of you who participated in the visit and the discussions with our site team. We are very excited about the pending results. All in all, we think the visit was a success. We have good information from our HLC team that they enjoyed the engagement of our campus and the openness and frankness of our discussions with them. So in terms of the next steps, the visiting team will finalize the report over the next few weeks. WVU will receive that report and be able to have the opportunity to correct any errors of fact. And then that corrected report is then reviewed by the HLC's Institutional Action Committee before being approved finally by the HLC's Board of Governors. So we should be receiving the HLC report sometime this summer. So spring is always a season for awards and recognition and celebrations, and I'd like to highlight a few of those at this time. Congratulations to our Office of Undergraduate Research on the national recognition they received last month. The National Council on Undergraduate Research honored the WVU office with its Award for Undergraduate Research Accomplishments, an award that pays tribute to exemplary programs that provide high quality and collaborative research experiences for our undergraduate students. We know their work has significant impact on the lives and long-term success of our undergraduate students, and they are so well deserving of this recognition. WVU is also rolling out its annual faculty awards in the Office of the Provost. Late last month, we announced this year's honorees for the Nicholas Evans Awards for Advising Excellence. The 2025 recipients for the Nicholas Evans Faculty Advising Excellence Award include faculty advisors Nettie Freshour in the Davis College and Rebecca Dunaway in the Eberly College, and primary role advisors Marilyn Munzer in the Statler College, Samoa D'Souza Brown in the Eberly College. This year, we also added the first recipient of the New Advisor Award, which went to Jenna Edwards in the Davis College. Just this week, we also announced the winners of the Caperton and the Hebink Faculty Awards. Julie Hicks Patrick, a professor of psychology at the Eberly College, is the 2024-2025 recipient of the Caperton Award for Excellence in the Teaching of Writing. Joshua Meadows, a service assistant professor in the Chambers College Department of Management, Information Systems, and Supply Chain, is the recipient of the Ethel and Jerry Hebink Award for Distinguished Beginning State Service. And Lori Hostutler, University Librarian and Director of the West Virginia and Regional History Center, is the recipient of the Ethel and Jerry Hebink Award for Distinguished Extended State Service. And just today, we announced the latest Benedum Distinguished Scholar Award recipient, and that is biology professor Edward Grostek in the Eberly College, of course. He's being honored for the high caliber of his research and scholarly activity in the category of biosciences and health sciences. Later this week, we will announce the WVU Foundation Outstanding Teaching Award recipients, so stay tuned for that. Please be sure to share these stories and award announcements on your own social platforms to spread the word about our amazing, talented faculty here at WVU. Lastly, a reminder that this is also Graduate Student Appreciation Week, and it's also Research Week. Graduate Student Appreciation Week features a series of events, activities, and giveaways for all WVU graduate and professional students. The Office of Graduate Education and Life, along with partners around campus, is offering free professional headshots, snacks, swag, and a variety of events. And they're also culminating this week with the 3-minute thesis competition grand finale, during which 10 finalists present their doctoral research topic and its significance in 3 minutes using a single PowerPoint slide. I can't wait to see that. This was also the 7th annual Research Week for WVU, full of events, exhibits, seminars, and engagement opportunities showcasing the research efforts and expertise of our faculty and students. Check out the Grad Ed Life website and the Research Office website for specific details. So, looking forward to closing out this semester and seeing you all at commencement. That's the conclusion of my report. I'll take any questions.
Hi, Eric Horsticka, Eberly College. So I just wanted maybe some follow-ups on the retention, which is fantastic. I'm just curious if there's any data coming in at either the college or unit level about anything that's been reflected upon as like highly effective in terms of kind of recruitment or retention efforts. Because I'll focus the question maybe a little bit if units are reporting particularly effective efforts and those models get shared across other units. You know, this is just success breeding success. And I don't know if that's data collected or sought after, but it's something that is happening and might be a way of.
So we have data across the entire university, and we have data from specific units, specific disciplines. We know how retention is happening. We know what DFW rates are. We know all of those things. And we certainly are trying to gather best practices and help other units improve. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I was just curious that kind of the way the flow of information might be happening. And I mean, I'm not saying that what works perfectly for one will translate to a different unit, but it could be base models of ideas that are getting this retention rate. Because I'm sure retention fluxes a little bit across the units, universally high. If you start sharing ideas, maybe it just gets it across the board.
I totally agree. We can do that. If you have further questions, you can contact Social Provost Witters. Any ideas? Go ahead and do that, okay? Anything else? Thank you.
So our next item of business, let me just double check, make sure I'm in the right place. Yes, is to move forward with the statements for the Faculty Senate Chair elect position. We have one candidate this year, Matt Valenti from Statler. Matt is unable to be present at today's meeting, but he has provided us with a recorded statement that we will play now.
For those of you who don't know me, I am Matthew Valenti, and I'm a professor in the Lane Department of Computer Science and Electrical Engineering, which is in the Statler College. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself and share my vision for the Faculty Senate. Sorry I can't join you in person, but I am currently in South Carolina attending a meeting that is required for WVU to maintain its standing as a National Center of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity. If elected, this would actually be my second time in this role. I previously served as Faculty Senate Chair during the 2017 to 18 academic year, and that term included a 2-year appointment on the Board of Governors. Then, after my service on the BOG, I began a 2-year term as Chair of the Lane Department. I've also served other roles for the Faculty Senate, most notably Faculty Secretary and Chair of the Curriculum Committee. Overall, I've been at WVU for over 25 years, and during this time, I've taught every semester except for one, which is when I was chairing my department. I've been active in research and have been leading our efforts in biometrics and cybersecurity. By spending my entire academic career living the life of a WVU faculty member, I understand the expectations and pressures we all face. If given the opportunity to serve again, I will focus on 3 priorities. First, I want to strengthen the relationship between faculty and administration, fostering mutual trust and collaborative spirit of shared governance. This is especially important as we transition to a new university president and move beyond the challenges of academic transformation. Second, I want to improve communication between the Senate and the broader faculty body, ensuring that our colleagues are informed, engaged, and able to participate meaningfully in decision-making. Third, I want to encourage broader faculty participation in the Senate, its committees, and the shared governance process. Our strength lies in the diversity of disciplines and perspectives we bring to the table, and yet, faculty engagement seems to be declining. For instance, just last week at the HLC Faculty Forum, I was one of only 7 faculty in attendance, a sharp contrast to the 2014 visit when the room was full. And, as I understand it, I'm the only nominee for chair-elect this year, when in past years this has been a competitive and sought-after role. I fear faculty members are becoming increasingly disengaged, which is not good for the long-term health of the Senate and the shared governance process, and is something I would like to do something about. In closing, I believe the Senate is at its best when it is thoughtful, independent, collegial, and constructive. If elected, I will work to ensure that the Senate remains a strong and principled voice for faculty and a committed partner in leading WVU forward. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Now that we have heard the candidate's statement, we will email ballots to the members of Faculty Senate to complete within 7 days. Please submit your ballot quickly upon receiving it, and remember to check your other or junk mail folders. That is almost always where that stuff ends up. Any questions on the process? We will run a full election. Okay. As I mentioned in my statement, the spring Senate election process continues. As a reminder, the ballot for faculty senators, which is kind of the first ballot in the process, is currently active, but you must submit those by today, end of day. So if you have not filled one out yet for your constituency, please again look in your junk or other folders. And it was sent almost a week ago. Those of you who have not done it got a reminder this morning. So just go there. It'll take you right to the ballot. Those interested in running for Faculty Senate Executive Committee, remember you must indicate your interest by April 11th at 5 p.m. Those interested in running for representative to state government and for faculty secretary must submit letters of interest by April 14th. Those 2 positions are voted on only by the Faculty Senate Executive Committee, and we will do that at our Faculty Senate Exec meeting on April 21st. Any questions regarding elections, outstanding elections? Well then, people, we have gotten to the meat of the meeting. Now we will address the proposed university guidelines for faculty evaluation, promotion, and tenure that were presented to Faculty Senate at last month's meeting. In the last month, we have communicated proactively with the Faculty Assembly. We have been sending our emails to the faculty in whole. We have sent 4, basically 1 a week, reminding them that this is up for consideration and encouraging them to speak with their faculty senators. This follows a multi-year process that started in 2023. The starting point for these proposed guidelines were the guidelines that were proposed by the Provost Office and voted down by the Assembly in 2023. The document was updated to reflect and to resolve the greatest points of contention and to modernize criteria. The document now currently, as it exists currently, reflects a modernization of the current guidelines in place. It reflects the changes in academic practice that have occurred in the last 11 years. After the guidelines were modified by the Faculty Senate Executive Committees, a subcommittee of the Faculty Senate Exec Committee, they were then provided to the Faculty Welfare Committee, who conducted a survey that involved all faculty again at all 3 campuses, processed the feedback that they received on the survey, and recommended changes to the document back to the Faculty Senate Exec. The subcommittee looked at those additional edits, accepted most of them, tweaked the document, and then presented the guidelines to the Faculty Senate Executive Committee. There's a lot of committees, who then forwarded the guidelines to you, and those are the ones that you received last month. The proposed guidelines will act as the floor or the basic requirements for the unit-specific guidelines that will have to be updated if, and that's a big if, these guidelines are approved. I want to emphasize that the process to get here has been long, has had multiple opportunities for faculty to provide input, and has involved the Office of the Provost to ensure that the guidelines presented are acceptable to them. We will allow for motions for amendments, but please understand, major changes in content may result in the document's death, even if we vote to approve it, if those changes are not acceptable at the administrative levels. This has been a negotiated process. Having said all of that, is there a motion to approve the proposed university guidelines for faculty evaluation, promotion, and tenure so that we can move to discussion and a vote? Okay, so moved. Is there a second? Okay, so Frankie moved, Emily seconded. We are now open for discussion. Does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns regarding these guidelines? Doug Terry online.
Hello. I have been receiving feedback from people on my campus regarding clarification about the external reviews, particularly line 1140 that excludes teaching track faculty, service track faculty. Throughout the process, there's been some concern about the fact that people on my campus are not labeled teaching track, but at the same time are primarily have teaching as their significant contribution. Most faculty are operate under a 70% teaching, 20% scholarship, and 10% service requirement. And what I would like to do is propose an amendment and to line 1141 to say faculty with teaching as their sole significant area of contribution who are seeking promotion to any rank are not required to seek external reviews. And this would be just for clarification on our campus about the fact that primarily we're a teaching institution at Tech and that mostly our faculty are on a 70% teaching load.
All right, thank you, Douglas. I'm going to pause for a moment. Are we able to bring the document up? Okay, we need a second. Oh, yeah, okay. I need a second to Doug's motion before we can discuss. We have a second. Now can we bring the document up? Maybe a little bit. Some of us are old. Is everyone able to see that, or do we need it bigger? About 50-50. Is there any way to make that slightly bigger? So, Doug, can you reread your amendment? And, oh, it's there. Okay, so if you look at line 1141, we've added the amended language. That is now highlighted in yellow. Can everyone see that? Is there any discussion of the amendment? I was given a heads up on this. The provost's office was okay with this language. Okay, seeing no further discussion on the amendment, we will vote on the amendment. We will do a hand vote. All of those in favor of accepting the amendment, please indicate so by raising your hand online and in the room. Okay, please lower your hands online. You're going to notice we're going to take a little bit more time today to allow people online to actually lower their hand. We need to get this right today. You good? All of those who are opposed to the amendment, please signify by raising your hand. Okay. All right, the motion passes and will be adopted to the document. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Stéphane Collignon, College of Business and Economics. In the document, at some point for the annual evaluation, we talk after receiving unsatisfactory evaluation that there could be performance improvement plan. That basically constitutes a variation of the vocabulary that used to be a remediation plan, I think. I would have a question on why did we change the vocabulary? I also have an opinion on the vocabulary that could be adopted. Where should I start?
Okay, can you, so if I understand your question, let me make sure before I answer it, because I don't want to answer incorrectly. There is a section in the document which says that a performance improvement plan can be written in the cases in which a faculty member receives a satisfactory rating. Unsatisfactory rating. And you were wondering why we are using that terminology instead of remediation plan?
Yep.
I think it just reflects the more modern and accepted terminology, as far as I understand it.
I would
Can you
suggest
bring it up?
plan of action.
Hold on a
Because
second.
here
We're going
is
to try
my
to bring it up
logic.
on the screen so people can see it. Give us a second. Can you highlight? Are you able to find that? We appreciate everyone's patience while we try to make this process as open as possible and as clear. So thank you for your patience as we move around this. Okay. So this is one example of where something like that is provided. So can you tell me more about what your concerns are?
I would have replaced it by plan of action that would actually open to different kinds of actions. That is, for example, if one of our faculty is not giving satisfactory performance in terms of research, for example, I think it's been common practice to say maybe that faculty needs to turn toward teaching more. If we are talking about only performance improvement plan, that's basically saying, well, you are not doing research well. I want you to do research well. That's all the action I can have. Whereas maybe I would just like to relocate you toward more of a teaching duty, for example. That would be another kind of action that may be acceptable.
Okay, so you're saying that by using the word action plan, that will give us a little bit more flexibility in what the actions are.
I mean, remediation like it was before seems to be relevant as well, but if we want to modernize, I would say plan of action or action plan.
Okay. Does anyone? You want to put forth a motion?
I want to put forth a motion.
You want to push forward? Do you want to change it in this one location or in all areas in which the term plan of improvement or an improvement plan exists?
Yes, I would like to do that in every location.
So the motion on the floor is to replace the use of the word performance improvement plan with action plan. Is there a second? Second? Okay. Okay. Corey's going to try to find us a slightly better example. Okay. Is there a member of the provost's office that's willing to explain what is meant by a performance improvement plan? What does that entail? Tracy.
At its broadest level, this would be referring to an individual who received a rating of unsatisfactory. We want to help them get back into having satisfactory or meritorious ratings. So the concept of plan of action is equivalent in this context. Someone's
Okay.
not performing well, we want them to perform well. It wasn't necessarily that specific activity. So a performance improvement plan could encompass the concept of changing their workload assignments if that was relevant.
Okay, thank you for that information. Is there any discussion of the motion? We're replacing it with action plan. Yes. Is there any discussion of the motion? Anything online? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, we will move forward with a vote. All of those in favor of substituting the term action plan for the incidences of the term performance improvement plan in this document, please raise your hand and online. Okay. All of those opposed, please wait, hold on, lower your hands online. 6. Okay. Okay. All of those who are opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, the motion fails. Thank you. Can you wait? Okay, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren Prinzo, Extension. One kind of, I guess, request for more information or clarification. Extension faculty historically have been hired at the instructor level and tenured at the assistant level. So the new document requires tenure at the level of associate or above only. Can anyone provide any additional information as to why that change is important or needed in the document or why it was made?
I forwarded your question and to the provost's office, and thankfully Paul has stood up. Paul, I recognize you to please address this question.
Thank you. So we had worked, when I say we, the Office of the Provost had worked with Extension and Dean Atiles and some leaders in the group in the Extension Services Unit. And we had talked about providing doctoral equivalency for faculty hired at the instructor level so that we could actually move forward in hiring all faculty at the assistant level in the future. So that's the plan to move forward, is hiring faculty in no longer at the instructor level, but at the assistant level. So this language reflects that. And then if somebody seems to be caught in the middle, we would grandfather them in. So anybody currently has tenure at the assistant level would retain their tenure. And anybody at instructor level who's going to be going up for tenure at the assistant level would be able to do so.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. Okay, you're up.
So it's actually in the same paragraph that we were just talking about with the performance improvement plan. It says just below that the record of unsatisfactory or the failure to follow the plan could lead to termination or whatever, non-continuation. It seems like we break the logical link between those two things as compared to the rest of the document, actually. It seems like we wanted to say that we can have unsatisfactory. The unsatisfactory evaluation would lead to formulating a plan of improvement, and failure to comply with the plan of improvement could lead to saying no continuation of contract. If we say record of unsatisfactory or failure to follow the plan, you open basically to the idea that just unsatisfactory is enough to be not continued.
Can you bring up that section, please, Corey? Can you help us locate what you're talking about?
Just here where it's highlighted, a record of unsatisfactory performance or a faculty member's failure to complete a performance improvement plan could lead to a recommendation for non-continuation. So, and in somewhere else in the document, and I'm sorry I didn't take that in notes, we tend to, I think we explained that the unsatisfactory evaluation leads to the plan, which failure to comply with would lead to maybe not being continued. And here we have the record on unsatisfactory or the failure could lead to not being continued. So to me, it should be and if we want to be rigorous with the logic we have somewhere else in the document.
Okay. So are you proposing a motion to change
I'm
the wording
proposing
here?
a motion replacing or by and in that line 86.
Okay, so in line 86, the motion is to replace the word or with the word and. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That is the motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion? Yes. Okay. We will vote on this motion next. All of those, whoop, sorry, yeah, darn it. Discussion. Is there any discussion of the changing of this word? Can we add a comma? Okay, whoa, okay. Let's assume that we will, let's assume that we will handle the commas at a later time. But yes, we will go through and grammatically fix the document. Any discussion of the motion? Okay. Cody Hood online?
Yes, I was wondering if we could get feedback from anyone in the provost office if they're available to speak on whether this will, if they would be supportive of this change.
Okay. Members of the provost office, are you in support of the change? Do you have a concern? If you do, could you let us know? If you're able to tell us.
Trying to understand functionally what the real matter is here. If it's to ensure that there was a history, they had an opportunity to improve before we would ever move to terminate somebody. We are in agreement on that. That's what we want to occur. I'm not sure where.
Well, actually, that sentence says that you just need the history of unsatisfactory. That's my point. If you want both, you need and, which is like a plus sign.
Okay, let's see. Where I'm trying to think through is if there was a history and a performance improvement plan, and then they, whether it was through minimal compliance or that they could not raise their performance to the requisite level, whether that is problematic.
I totally agree with the idea that find somebody unsatisfactory and we formulate a plan and give them the opportunity to improve. That's, I think, a decent way of handling things.
I think we're in agreement there, and that's what we have always intended for faculty to receive feedback and an opportunity to improve.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, or discussion of the motion?
I guess the start of that says might lead, and so if we have the and, it should say shall lead, right? In requiring that and portion, so not giving the option of not having a performance plan. That might be a separate motion, so if this motion passes.
So are we, okay, so I think we need to be clear about what we're trying to fix here with this and. Do you mind returning to the mic so I can ask you? No, sorry. Yeah, you're fine.
To me, it's just that I understand what the intent is. And to me, that sentence actually does not correspond to your intent. So it's not even that I want to modify the way you want to process things. It's actually, I think that sentence is not correct to reflect your own intent. I think you are saying, I want to see a past history. I want a remediation plan or improvement plan, sorry. And
Action plan, actually.
and then failing to do it. And then in that case, we can not continue the contract of somebody. With that sentence, and I'm no lawyer or anything, and you can see that I'm not native, but for me, it sounds like that you open the fact to the idea that only unsatisfactory without the plan and without failure to comply to the plan is actually enough.
Scott Critchlow, Faculty Senate Chair Elect, sort of clarification, possible question / observation is that it sounds to me like the word record, that possibly your questions tied to a reading of the word record that could imply it being a single year. Whereas it sounds to me like that the response from the provost office is more that the record would then perhaps like lead to a plan, and that record, if it has led to a plan, then would be a multiple year issue. So I think it sounds to me like the issue is about that noun. And I don't know what you all would want to do with that, but I would not get into changing verbs. I would just sort of figure out anything about that noun or a phrase that might clarify.
So right now we're dealing with a single motion to change a single word. And I would like to keep our focus on that because otherwise we start to get confused. Okay. Is there any discussion regarding the current motion on the floor to change the or to an and? To a mic, please.
This is Ruchi Bhandari from the School of Public Health. And I guess everyone has got it what Stefan is saying. He's not making any change. He's saying that there is an error in the sentence because the prior sentence actually suggests that, as he said, that there is a logical flow of events. First, there is an unsatisfactory performance. Then an improvement plan is offered to that faculty. The faculty is unable to or has failed to fulfill that performance improvement plan, and therefore there can be whatever, what does it say, recommendation of non-continuation. Now there are two aspects. One, a record of unsatisfactory performance. Record comprises once, twice, thrice, we don't know. So this is unclear here. The other is, if there is a record and the chair or whoever never gave any performance improvement plan, then just because the person has had twice or thrice a record of unsatisfactory performance, that person should not be.
So excuse me, are you speaking in favor or in opposition to the change of the word to the word and?
There has to be an and. There has to be an and.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion on this, we will move to a vote on the motion to change the or to an and at this point in the document. All of those who are in favor, hold on, I gotta write a note. All of those who are in favor of changing the or to an and, please signify by raising your hand. Okay. Online, we have them, everyone? Okay. You can lower your hands, please. Everyone who is opposed, please raise your hand. Okay. Okay. The motion passes and the word will be changed. I'm not sure which of you was first. Want to fight it out? Let me check one thing. We try to rotate with online. Is there anything online? Okay.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Best, College of Creative Arts and Media. I just have a point of clarification that I'm seeking. This refers to line 774, where it notes, 773 BOG. Faculty role 4.2 extends contracts based on ongoing need for the position and meritorious teaching performance up to 3, 6, and 9 years. This has to do with the teaching track faculty. And I just had a question about the use of the term ongoing need, because it didn't seem to be present in the BOG 4.2, and just wanted clarification as to what that meant.
Yeah, that's fine. Does anyone who is on the Faculty Senate Executive Council that rewrote this page have any comment on what ongoing need means? We're waiting for the text to come up here so we can see it in context. It was line 773, 774.
About page 17.
Page 17. As I understand this, this has to do with when you look at the faculty rule 4.2, it addresses situations in which people can be non-continued. And one of those is when there is a downsizing or not a need for the continued position. So it allows for economic or development considerations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Once I saw it, I knew what we were talking about.
Yes, Kevin Myland, Eberly College of Arts and Sciences. I also begin with a clarification question. In line 1136, the document says that the digital evaluation file must contain external evaluations of the quality of the faculty member's area of significant or outstanding contributions as identified in the letter of appointment or a subsequent memorandum of understanding. And I believe, for example, in my letter of appointment, I believe my areas of significant contribution areas are both in teaching and research. Was the intention here to have external evaluations comment on the quality of teaching? I mean, I assume that's probably not the intention, but that is my reading of the current language. So if I could just get some clarification on that.
Tracy, are you able to handle this question?
Possibly. I suspect that phrasing is to allow the flexibility in the situations in which we do have individuals where we might have gone with teaching, and they were in a category in which external reviews were expected. But it would tie more to what does the letter say? So that letter for that individual would say, external reviews of your research and scholarship are expected, or external reviews of your teaching was expected, but not that it was referring to both. That's all. I think that's all that was.
Okay.
But I didn't write that.
Does that make sense to you, sir? Okay.
Then I would propose that we add in a word here. Instead of faculty members area, maybe we could say primary area of significant or outstanding contributions to reflect that that we're talking about just research for the faculty, where that's the primary area, or just teaching, or perhaps primary is not the correct word, but something that indicates that, for example, yeah, in situations where it would not be traditional for faculty's teaching to be evaluated with external evaluations, that's not the intent of the document there.
Okay. So are you proposing a motion to add the word primary after faculty members? You can see it on the screen here. He's kind of typed it in there for primary area of significant or outstanding and I should have brought some Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Sorry. Okay. This is serious.
I'm not sure what the best way is to resolve this. So I think I'll yield back without making a formal motion.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion of the document before us? Seeing no further comments or discussion, we will move to vote on the document as amended. We will be doing a counted hand vote, so I will be asking everyone to leave their hands up for a little bit longer than we typically do. And let's get started. All of those who are in favor of approving the guidelines for faculty evaluation, promotion, and tenure, please indicate by raising your hands in the room and online. All right, and online? 45 in the room plus 18 online. All those who are opposed to approval of these guidelines, please indicate by raising your hand, both in the room and online. Okay. And online? Okay, 5 plus 1. The guidelines are approved. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it. I know it's been a long few years, so thank you very much. Is there a- Can you say that again? For the record? Okay. Yeah, Robert's rules doesn't require abstentions any longer. Okay, is there any other new business? Amy?
Hi, I had a constituent approach me and asked me to inquire about the status of international students on campus with the kind of ongoing changes to visas being revoked and some activity of
On
ICE and
campuses.
HSI in town actually as well. So not students on campus, but the in town there has been ICE and HSI activity. So they were curious to know what, and this could be added maybe to a future agenda if we wanted to do that, but what steps or what information can be shared and what steps might be taken to ensure our students, our international students are.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I will add it to the agenda for the next meeting if that's okay, because I don't want to talk about it off the top of my head. Thank you. All right, is there any other new business? We have one person approaching the mic.
Hi, Lauren Prinzo Extension. Is there any update on pursuing a faculty ombudsperson?
I know that we reopened that position at the beginning of the spring semester, and I am not sure, Chris, are you able to say, were we able to get any qualified candidates? So the answer is no, but that we continue to work on it, and we will post it again as we finish the academic year. Getting that ombuds position fulfilled is important. Thank you. Any other new business?